Sooner or later, you got to make a decision. You have to make a decision. I've gotten, based on last week's podcast, quite a few people talk about how upset they are about the job that they have. And my question to you is, so what are you going to do about it? What changes are you willing to make? From what I've seen, a lot of you want the comfort of having the salary, but doing the things that you enjoy doing. I think all of us want that. But are you willing to make the decision to do so? And if you're not, stop complaining. Don't complain about what your job isn't given to you if you haven't even asked for what you want. You have to at least, in almost every scenario that I spoke about, I asked and I heard no. And where I heard no, I just went somewhere else to find the yes. And then after a while, if your only focus is money and you put that in your mind, you're automatically going to attract more money. But more money does not mean less responsibility. It means work. You got to work for it. But you want the comfort, you want the work-life balance. And the reality is, not every company believes in work-life balance. So are you actually looking at companies that value work-life balance? Or are you just looking for the company that cuts the check? So if you just, most of us start this way. I just want to provide for my family. And to me, whenever you say, I just want to, that means that you're eliminating every other possibility. You don't think that there's really work-life balance because you just want to. So just because you want it, you're going to make just enough money. You're going to have just enough to eat. You're going to have just a little bit of whatever it is that you're asking for. Instead of making a decision to say what you want. My grandmother used to say to me, the worst thing that a person could say is no. And I don't think she meant that in the literal sense of like the worst thing, but it's almost like if a person says no, then it's no. That doesn't mean that it'll never be yes. It's just no at that moment. You ever hear the saying of, if you had opportunity to get $1 million, but you had to ask 999,999 people 999 times, and all of them said no, would you still ask? And most people say no, but it only takes one person to say yes. So you're at a spot that you don't like, or you're in a field that you don't enjoy, but you don't necessarily want to do the things that's going to help you get out of the situation that you're in. Whether it be sharpening your skill set, whether it be taking a pay cut to do the thing that you want to do, or to transition, because mostly that's what it's about. And most of this is about transition. You're just moving from one state to the other. And if you have an expectation in your mind of, this is what I expect for it to be, instead of embracing what it is and speaking into existence what it is that you want, and then when you don't get it, then you're angry again. And truthfully, you have nobody to be upset at but you, because you're the one, you are the controller and master of you. And if you really listen to what the podcast is about, it's not even about who makes the most money. It's about designing the lifestyle that you see fit for you. Let's say you want to paint. Okay, you want to paint. You like painting. But you don't want to charge that much for your painting. So whose fault is it that you're broke? Or you want to work for yourself, but you say you don't have that good of people skills. Okay, so why don't you find someone who can represent you so that you don't necessarily have to speak to a lot of people? It's easier for us to find an excuse not to do something as opposed to doing the work. I overthink things like a mother. I'm catching myself cussing, but I just overthink all the time. So I use my wife as a sounding board to where I narrow it down to 2 decisions, and then I'll go, hey, what do you think, A or B? And she usually confuses it and says C, but I get it. Whatever it is that you want, you have to ask for it. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. I'm not using the word sacrifice. I feel different about that. Sacrifice is almost like you're willing to give everything up. You want to forego everything else just to have this one item. And a lot of times, that's not what you're willing to do. You're not willing to give up everything else. But you're willing to make an adjustment. That adjustment may feel uncomfortable. For me to make adjustments from position to position and at times not land where I necessarily want to land, but make an adjustment to say, okay, I have to be satisfied with having 1 meal a day instead of 3. That's an adjustment that I have to make. I can't necessarily buy trinkets and BS that I would usually buy. Most of the time when you look around left and right, you're just buying a bunch of nonsense, or you're buying things for convenience. That could be money put in towards someone that can help you get to where you want to go. Hence, life coach, no shameless plug on me, but anybody that you want to work with. There's people that are in a position that where you want to be, that were where you were before, and the only difference is that you haven't asked them what did they do to get out of their situation. Like, the information is all around us. And I'm not even talking about YouTube videos. I'm talking about with social media. If you see a person, like, literally just slide in their DMs and ask a question. And even if you don't go in their DMs, ask a question in the comments. I remember one time I wanted to do an interview with a very well noted journalist, Kim Ozario from the Source magazine. And this is going all the way back to MySpace. I would literally just go on MySpace like every week and ask her, can I get an interview? Can I get an interview? Can I get an interview? For a year straight, this woman must have thought I was crazy. I'm surprised she didn't block me. Lo and behold, about a year and a half later, she's like, who are you and why are you bothering me? So I said, look, I have this TV show. Your story is interesting. I'd like to interview you. Needless to say, I think I interviewed her 3 times. 2 times over the phone, and then once in person. And all I did was ask. When I talked about the amount of money that I raised and how I got from where I was to where I am, if you listen to everything I said, it was an ask. I went to people and I asked, and if they said no, okay, I understand that this isn't what you can do, so I don't put the blame on them. You have to make the adjustment. If your work environment isn't for you, then just move on from that environment. Oh, but Tommy, I got to take care of my kids. I got bills. I get it. Handle your business. Figure out how to make that transition. You can't figure it out? Find somebody who's made that transition. There's so many people out here who are willing to share their story and their information, and they're literally waiting for you to ask. So whatever it is that you want to do, stop holding it back, stop making excuses, and just ask. This is Tommy Danger, Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.